So I completely failed her in her wish to be free herself. Wow. My poor connections. Wow. Boy, what's going on there in Mexico? With me trying to, justify my position. Mm. It's a pretty horrific reality, and it was part of mine, and I was part of it, for each person. Now it's being torn apart. So, how do I deal with that? The separation of life from life, from no longer being, you know, in sync, even though we weren't in sync, we were in a pattern, of interaction that repeated itself. So it's never going to be the same again. That's for sure. I'm never flying down there again and sleeping with my wife again. And even with all the reasons it was horribly wrong for us to be together, the separation tears me apart and rips my heart open. I say, I'm sorry that I couldn't be who you needed me to be, for you to be happy. And I'm sorry that what I needed to be happy wasn't you, and yet I said, I do. I shouldn't have said I do, because we were never going to give the best of ourselves to each other. Neither one of us. I'd like to think that I tried to, and she'd like to think that she tried to. But what the other person did and said, and how they did it and how they said it, was meant that we could not allow ourselves to be at our best if that's what they were going to do. You can't let reality be that way. You can't let somebody else's bad choice cause you to make one too. You have to be above that. You have to be aware of who and what, how things are, how people are created. You know what what they're going to do based upon you know how they're configured. So now you have to figure out a way how to let go. Almost 2 decades of disappointment and pain. Was it wrong to have those expectations? Was it wrong to have those dreams and desires that were unfulfilled and unmet? On both of our sides. Neither one of us got hardly anything that we wanted from each other. It was a terrible time for both of us, the whole marriage. Hmm. So I have to say, I hope that there was a good reason for it, and let's just imagine one. There's a perfect time and place and person for her. But if she hadn't have been connected with me until now, then she would have made other choices that would have prevented her from being free exactly right now so that she can move into her perfect self-expression with whoever those connections are with and for. It's between her and them now. Her perfect self-expression, right? What's going to be that sun, that light that causes her to blossom into a beautiful soul, full self-expression of herself that didn't happen with me. She couldn't do it. She couldn't even dance for me. She was so disappointed from the very beginning. She couldn't dance with me, and she no longer wanted to be intimate. And yet both of us let that continue on for 16 years, unresolved, unforgiven. How could I let somebody I knew and was married to suffer from, in her mind, for the thoughts and things that were created as a result of an experience with me? How could I not have insisted that it be fixed immediately as soon as it happened? And the fact that I didn't and then judged her for feelings that she couldn't control, I left that unconfronted in my life as an experience for myself. So I invited it to continue on unresolved for 16 years. So who's responsible? Her for all of her behaviors that I couldn't appreciate, or me for saying, what do you really need and want out of life? And is it something that I want to give? And what do I really need and want out of life? And is it something you want to give? How can they not make that transaction be 100% congruent before they allow people to get married? They have to be congruent with their understanding of their own needs and wants and the other person's, and actually be delighted by the fact that it's a perfect match, meaning that what I want to give into a relationship is perfectly exactly that the other person wants, that is the perfect thing that I need. What she wants to give me is exactly what I'm looking for. So is it possible for us to, is it desirable, is it right even? Yeah, I know it's possible, I know it happens. So is it wrong for you to awaken and self-realize completely at the same time that you live your life with those, if there's a desire to have another, a companion, an opposite, why not have her realize herself as the embodiment of the goddess, whatever that means, in terms of a flowering so magnificent that it's a continuous state of awe, to be around her in such a presence. So feel that. Feel the divine feminine and experience it until you're in awe. Until you experience the fact that it's your willingness to experience that is actually your opening to receive the blessing of your self-realization. The one that will come and take your hand and lead you the way is the divine feminine, dummy. So, yeah, it's hard for me to say anything other than I did such a bad job as a husband. Really. Not like I hated her. I was afraid of her. Much of the time I didn't like her. I really, really couldn't take her temper. It was too much for me. It made me feel bad whenever it happened. Real bad. So I avoided her because of it. And she felt that rejection and thought that rejection was a hatred of her. No, it was a defensive reaction to feeling the pain of being rejected myself through her anger. And so my pulling back, she experienced as a judgment of her and a rejection of her, and so it went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Neither one of us getting why that was happening to the other person and how what we were doing was the opposite of what they needed. Each one of us. Each one of us continually withdrawing away more and more and more of the approval that we had for each other in the beginning until we completely disapproved, both of us, for each other. It's a tough one to take, to have been party to that type of relationship for so long, not being able to figure it out, not being able to make it better, being completely unconscious and stupid as how to behave when somebody is lost and fallen that way and has come to somebody that should have known the way to help them move through that so they could have beautifully blossomed here instead. So I completely failed her in her wish to be free herself. She had whatever it is she had, and I didn't help her resolve it. I married her, and then I judged her for the way she acted instead of looking for what moved that unwanted temper into expression. I knew it wasn't me. I was just the recipient of it. And so, but I didn't take the responsibility of, well, you married her, so you better figure out what's making her tick and where things are off and deal with it. And I could have. I was capable. Why didn't I? Why didn't I? I know how to deal with that shit. Why didn't I? I fucking wasn't here. I'm still not here. That's who I should be. Now I can't claim anything here but near complete failure in everything I've ever attempted. It's a sad thing to say, but it's true. I haven't been for anybody what they needed. Really. Certainly not for myself. Can't figure out how to exercise enough to be healthy. I can't figure out how to eat healthy myself. I mean, I know how, but I don't want to. I'd rather condemn myself and sabotage myself and try to hurt myself through eating what I know to be unhealthy. So I'm actually sabotaging my own life. I'm actually trying to destroy myself. So that's the condition I find myself in, and that's what I have to confront in order to have a possibility of awakening. You actually have to see the cold, hard, ugly truth, you know. And maybe it's beautiful for everyone else, but it's ugly for me. My truth is ugly. It's sad. And it's sad because it didn't have to be that way. It could have been beautiful from the beginning, and it was in the beginning, and then somehow it wasn't anymore. It never has been since. That was long before I met her. My unhappiness, my sorrow, my trauma did not begin with my wife. It began in my childhood. I've owned it ever since. And I've never fully confronted that either. And so everybody I interact with that treats me in a way that I don't want to be treated, which is everybody. So who's right and who's wrong if nobody treats me the way that I want? You keep following this line of inquiry and you begin to get depressed because you realize that you've always fucked up everything for everybody. I mean, that's something that I have to experience myself right now to really know how really real that is. I don't know how real it is because I've been running away from my responsibility my whole life. So it's probably time I take my medicine, which is the experience of everything I've ever run away from. So that I can be done with all those silly experiences. It seems so tragic if I had them. Well, so it comes down to this. I choose better. Choose better now than I did then. Wow. Yeah, it's tough to live a traumatized life and then realize that you've created it every step of the way yourself. None of it was about the other person. The other person would have been everything that you needed, was ready to be everything that you needed until you weren't what they needed. And you should have noticed. And you should have noticed that what they needed was, if you're a little bit more awake, what you wanted to give them. But you weren't awake enough. You weren't awake enough to see their cry for help and be the answer. Took their cry for help as a rejection, as a condemnation and judgment of yourself. Sad, sad life. If I was my kid, I wouldn't want me to come around too often either. Hmm. So if you're deep into hell, you're trying to sneak into heaven, a lot of shit has to change. If you're trying to do it instantly in the now, there's a lot of stuff that has to bubble off and transform. That's every fucking thing you didn't confront, that you didn't take responsibility as exactly your creation because of the piece of shit you were being. Pretending to be something so unaware and so incompetent that you couldn't easily notice and appreciate the needs and wants of somebody close to you and say, I get it, I understand, yeah, I love you, it's okay, you know, we're in this together. What do you think we should do? Let's let's talk about it till we both get excited. You know, Shouldn't that be the way that you commit to live life with somebody else? Okay, so we've dealt with a bunch of my present time problems, obviously. ah, I was worse than she accused me of. I mean, of course, a lot of the stuff she accuses me of is made up lies, intentional lies, but they're not as tragic as the truth that she had to live of me pretending to be so broken that I couldn't be what I wanted to actually be for her. You know, something something weird about that, you know. And but that train has left the station and that boat has sailed away. Hmm. Yep, yep. It's recording, and it's okay that it record. I think at some point she should probably watch this.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
I'll definitely watch you. I, I say this from the bottom of my heart. It was magnificent because she painted a picture of my life and taking ownership. And you spoke such truth of yourself. Awesome, dude.
Thanks. But that is what I do. I confront what's up, you know. And I knew if I was going to smoke in the middle of this type of trauma that I'd have to move through it, take responsibility where I had to, because for me to experience the awakening that I do occasionally and that I want to have be permanent, then I can't lie to myself about my circumstances.
Yeah. What good is that?
Yeah.
To lie about it. What is
Yes.
the benefit of that? A lot to think about and ponder on for me.
Well, my heart is opening up now. It is filling with kind of a relief, you know, because I had to take that real of a responsibility for what I created for myself to go away. You know, because we will punish ourselves.
Oh, yes.
until
Oh,
until
yes.
we know that we're not blaming it on anyone else. Because if you blame anything on anyone else, then you're giving them the cause over your life and your creation. And if you once you do that, once you make somebody else cause, then you're forever trapped. But if you're cause, then you can do what I just did, and take responsibility for a part of your life, and then begin to not be in such pain and trauma there anymore, because you signed a light and you saw the real you. That you know was a tragic story. Because it could have been so beautiful. It could have been so beautiful. That's what she had dreamed for herself. And so, regardless of who she was, either before me or with me, the reality is she could have been who I needed her to be if I would have been who she needed me to be. Because it would have been irresistible for her to mold herself to fit the dream that I had of her for me if I were interested enough to learn and understand and fully know her dream so that I could try it on and realize that it was the answer to every dream I'd had for myself, you know, how I could blossom, you know, who I could be. And I just realized that it would have just kept getting better and better and better and better. And each one of us would let that past go that was limiting so we could take the next opening. And oh my God, what have I done? You know? You know? I don't know that she can take responsibility. It'll always be my fault for her.
That was my question. How do you change a person
Once it
that
was
doesn't want to be changed?
no,
Change is a bad word.
Yeah, no, but see, the problem is that in the beginning of a relationship, everyone is willing to forgive almost anything, to feel that expanded heart and love for somebody else that they feel in that moment. And so in that moment, they're so open to you that you can make changes in each other so that you become the match for each other that that is really appreciated, you know, and loved and cherished.
But there was a created anger with her,
No, no,
which which her striking out at herself.
yeah, but that doesn't matter. You know, whatever she was open to me, and in that opening, I did not do for her what I could have done. You know, I took for myself what I wanted. You know, and I
Okay, so you pick and choose what part of.
no, no. What I'm saying, if she was acting in a way that made me uncomfortable, you know, I kept my distance, right?
Like
Instead
a
of
temper tantrum.
yeah, or anything, yeah, or a little lie to her parents or something else, whatever it was that oh, but then didn't confront her on, you know, is my
You kowtowed
responsibility
away
because I
from.
accepted it for all the rest of the relationship. Then, if it's the first time that she would say, "What do I tell my dad? Where have we been? What did I should have said? If you're going to tell him anything, tell him the truth." You know, we just got back from David's hotel. David's a gentleman, even though he just fucked me. You know, he wants the best for me. We're going to get married, so don't worry. Wow. It's a real sorrow if you wake up and shine a light on some darkness that you know has some real ugliness to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know that that's what I did. And it was just simply not accessing reality for what it was.
If you believe that, then you believe also that you were the common denominator in every problem you had in your marriage.
Yeah.
That's what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Because you had it within you to change that.
Yeah. I had the talent and the ability, the knowledge, the desire, the awareness to fix any of those things. What I just I just couldn't confront the fact that she had so much change to do, and that I had entered a relationship, just purely about sex, and so I got what I deserved. None after I got married. I mean, if that isn't poetic justice, oh my God.
I want to get over that feeling that you're expecting me to transcend right there. So I given that, the session we did over the phone, the session tonight, gets me more and more. I just have to tell you the truth, how I feel focused on that very thing, and it makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Is because I guess there's not a right way or a wrong way, so that's where I'm at. And then to hear you talk about your marriage, it almost like confession, a confessional, and I'm not making light out of a bit, because I really that was eloquent, and I'm not trying to. It touched my heart. It did. So I guess what I'm saying, the more we have of these, the more gets me closer. I that's how I feel now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sharing that with you. That's where I'm at now. But it just get to the point where it's like, what's the next step? Get me away from this shit. Let me
No, we had to.
get away from this thing.
We had to see the divine in the shit first.
What's that?
You have to experience divinity in the shit first.
Yeah.
And if you're a shit, then that light shines on that, and you go, "Oh my God! Oh no, none of it was her fault. No, it was all you." Yeah. Why? Because you came here to awaken. We're in the process and had the tools, and you didn't do it. And you chose her to be your wife, or let her choose you to be your husband. Either way, it doesn't matter. What matters is you did it, and then you abandoned it. And she was right about that. You weren't mentally there, but you weren't honest with her about why, and she wasn't honest with you either. But it doesn't matter, because she was locked into who she was. She was only going to change if you helped her.
In each of my marriages, there has been blame on both sides. Okay, I've never really tried to make who's right, who's wrong. It's whatever. But if I've learned everything, and it was always in there too. But that you brought out to me is I was the guilty one, because I probably had the ability to change that. Every one of them.
Yeah,
But I didn't.
exactly.
I probably did. I took a different route.
Yeah.
I took a route that wasn't right, obviously, unless it gets me to another place that is right, David.
Yet there's always the ability to be right. Now, once you separated from them, they're gone. You're not gonna fix that relationship back then. But here's what you can do. You can think about each one of them, each one of your relationships that failed and ended with anger and hurt and depression. And you can reopen that connection energetically, and you can
elaborate on that. Tell me more about what you just said. You can reestablish, because there's
right here in the now. Okay, so think about someone you got divorced from. And instead of pushing that away, experience it. Look at it from, I mean, embrace it until you know what her experience of you is. It's not good.
What if you can feel her experience of me, and I have done that?
Okay, now's the next part. Okay, because that's what I was just doing with Claudia. I was experiencing her experience of me, and it was horrible. She was right about everything that she was right about, you know. So now you've experienced the same with your ex, right? You experienced in her shoes who you were to her, and
I've done that many
and
times.
it didn't make her happy. Okay, so now
All three of them.
let's let the next step come in now. Okay, so give me a minute. Okay, so you have several ex marriages so that aren't coming back. I have one that's not an ex yet, except we were never together
Mm-hmm.
after the wedding ceremony. Um, so if the relationship's gone, let's assume that things have been resolved between me and her for years. What you do is you connect with them now, energetically, with your thought, with your intention to connect to them, with your willingness to feel their energy again, with your willingness to hear her thoughts again. And then you love her as the goddess that she could have been if you'd have been what she needed in order to blossom as that. You do it now with each one of them. Love them as the goddess, as the goddess that didn't flower because you weren't the light that they needed to open them. Okay? So they were ready to flower, but you connected with them in a way, in a manner that they couldn't flower with somebody else. So it had to be you. So you took on that responsibility and didn't do it. So you have to do it now. And so you just allow there to be an energetic, mental, conscious connection with them in the moment. And you say, hey, you know what? We failed completely, but that doesn't mean that we're going to keep failing in the future or even right now. God knows that you're able to awaken as fully as I am. So let's just say to each other right now, thank you. I'm sorry. God bless you for forgiving me. Thank you. Now, if we're not mad at the other person, and we've also realized that we we were responsible, meaning not that we caused everything, but we didn't. We we caused things that we shouldn't have, and then didn't take responsibility for them, and then didn't take a step to a higher level of consciousness and make the whole experience irrelevant because it was a previous step that was left behind by both of you. You know, so you could have led each one of them in that direction, and you didn't, but now you do because you're making that step. And so you're saying, hey, everybody who thought they were going to make that step into a higher level of consciousness and bliss and love, true love with me, here's that expression from me to you right now. I truly love you, and I hope that you open into your full flower and free expression right now with whoever you're with, wherever you are, even if you're by yourself. Then you let it happen for them. You feel it, them opening and expressing and feeling joy again that they couldn't feel with you. Oh my God, how horrible. Wow. Fuck me, they ought to make it illegal to be married unless you keep going to classes on how to behave with each other and to actually do it. You know, where you have to do it. Fuck. Wow. You know, she is far more right than she was wrong. See, got a beep on that. Oh my goodness. Oh no. Her old ex-best friend was the beep. The one that lied to me about her having an affair. I asked her.
It's a message telling you, get out of there right now. Something's going to go wrong. Come on, Mike, we're out of here.
You're not recording this, are you, David?
Huh.
Oh.
It's interesting. Can I tell you about my marriage just a little bit?
Yeah, should I turn this off?
Was that still running?
It's still running.
Not going to be on CNN tomorrow night, is it?
No, not unless you help me figure out how to get it on.
I hope you had it off the part where we started to talk, because I want from the beginning to you ending. I guess I can take care of that, but don't be sharing me out there. It's still recording.
You better shut up. I'll share everything I want to.
You know, still got the shovel on my step down in there and go. Pretty soon, wow, I'm up to my neck here.
You're not afraid an ex-wife. You're not afraid that an ex-wife isn't going to like you anymore, are you?
There ain't gonna be an ex-wife. Not in this world.
Oh God.
No, I don't. I don't know that at all. I don't know that at all.
Now I really don't know what to do. You know, because I was making her wrong about everything. She was wrong about everything, but I didn't take into account that I didn't take responsibility for her when I married her, for her consciousness, for her state of mind, for understanding what she needed and wanted, and committing to that and saying, okay, I know that's a tough road to hoe, but you know the rest of you comes with the package. So okay, I'm gonna help cure everything that's wrong with you, mentally and physically and emotionally, and we're gonna have a great life together, a great marriage, you know. God, and so who wouldn't be disappointed if they met somebody that they thought could do this, and then they immediately thought they started treating her like a piece of shit, and so she had to shut herself down to protect herself.
Yeah.
Oh. How do you argue against that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, you know, how much you liked having sex? Yeah. Okay, well, there's not going to be any more of that until you learn your lesson. You know, I mean, she didn't say that, but that was her action.
Yeah, that was.
So,
yeah, basically was.
So what did I do? Got mad at her for being such a bitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or distanced myself to her for being, you know, and just said, okay, she doesn't like me. She doesn't, whatever. You know, I didn't understand who I was marrying, and I'm not going to, uh, just I don't know. It's like every decision I made was the wrong one for for making this work. So irreconcilable differences because you let it get so bad that you two of you couldn't stand each other. Each one of you being a decent person. Go figure. Hey, you know what I love to do more than anything else? Yeah, dance. Yeah, yeah. Look at this. I'm going to make every guy, every one of your friends that came to our wedding jealous of, and sorry they married who they married because of how I'm going to dance for you right now. Okay, everybody get this. This is how much I love David. And then for me to believe that you were something other than what you'd been for me, and that there was a darkness there that I couldn't confront or look at or accept. And all I had to do was say, "Oh, okay, I married this too. What's this about? Hey, little buddy, what's wrong right here? Okay. Oh, something really hurts, something really dark, something really traumatic, something, oh, that should not have happened to you. But guess what? I'm here now. I can feel it with you. I can see it. I can understand it. I can kind of dissect it. I'll love it into a state of freedom for itself until it no longer needs to be here to torment you. You know, you married a guy that could do that, but how is it that I couldn't be who I was with the woman who needed me to be? Hmm. Wow. And now she's going to blame the sadness for the rest of her life on me because I don't think she has somebody that can help her open up. But you know what? Okay, so that's the flow. I'm going to wish for her so purely for her to meet the sun that can open her up so that she can love purely and freely again, not holding anything back, to fully blossom and to thereby be completely open and vulnerable, which is the most beautiful expression of the flower. It's fully expressed and fresh in the moment of that complete flowering. Now, with that blessing to her, I can begin to forgive myself. That's the next step. Because unless you can bless your enemy, and she became my enemy, unless you can bless your enemy with a pure intent for the most beautiful experience that they could ever have, then you're not going to be free of the trauma of what it was that occurred between you that made you enemies. But when you do, and you're healed and whole, and your awareness and your state of awakening is, stable, a lot more stable, because you realize that everything you do here is important. Every look, every word, every movement. If somebody's noticing you, And what they should notice is that you're noticing too. Noticing that you do not, when somebody else notices you noticing them, it should be with your full opening. Ah, okay. And you're just kind of going as you experience them. Mm, mm, oh, that flavor. Ah, yeah, I get it. I get it. I know who you are. Nicely done. You gonna live that one out, or are you a bit of a chimera? You gonna move things around a little bit? So you bless them purely and sincerely until you're free. That's how you know that it's been effective enough. When your pure blessing to them sets you free, then you know that you did what was necessary for that one. So another blessing to Claudia, even though she'll say I'm faking. No, I'm not. You're not my boss anymore. Nor am I yours. And truly, God damn it, did we create a messed up life. So really, truly, good luck. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do better than I have, I promise. But I can only make that promise to you in the way that I'm going to be as grateful as I can to each of the people that I'm with. I'm not going to enslave myself to anybody. And so how that works out for me in the future, can't say. But what I can say is I'll be the better for it. And so whatever interactions we have, my intention is to be a better version of myself. Not for you, but for myself and for everybody else too. And you included in there, but not as the cause, the prime cause of my choice. Okay. Anything else? I don't think so. Oh, well, we can't leave on a downer, can we? We have to have it. We have to have the crescendo into.
Not on it down. Not for me.
Okay, good. So let's see. Okay, what does little Davy get out of this?
There is hope.
What does little Davy get? What does little Davy get? Come on.
What does Davy
Come on.
get?
What do I get? What do I get? What do I get? What have you got for me? What have you got for me? Ah, okay. You give me another chance with another divine goddess ready to blossom at my lifting my little finger, and I just got to remember to do that. Okay, let's pretend that one's true. And let's pretend that it also includes me somehow shifting my physical self into somewhere approximating the best I can be, where somebody at a casual glance could have that thought.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so that too. Wow. Well, my heart feels better. I said my heart feels better now.
You're Your countenance looks a lot better too. True story.
Yeah. So, dear listeners, what both of you, uh, which means I'll listen once and he'll listen once. Ah, that's what I have to go through to wake up a little bit. I hope it's a lot easier for you.